If Liberal Leader Sussan Ley wants a head start on policy to differentiate from Labor and actually make a difference in this country, immigration is it. Labor's Big Australia policy has seen a record 1.1 million migrants come here in the middle of a cost of living and housing crisis. So, what to do about it? Well, the time has come to go big and bold. And maybe, just maybe, Australia could take the lead of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Now, look, it is very strange to think that a Labor leader who is woke and weak is actually taking a strong stance on migration, but he says he is, despite presiding over a disastrous open border policy. The UK took in 1.2 million migrants last year alone, can you believe it? But I'm going to give him credit. And I think Conservatives here should take a leaf out of his book. Because this week, the UK Prime Minister announced the toughest migration crackdown in a generation, promising to slash numbers and fix Britain's borders.
When you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse, that encourages some businesses to bring in lower paid workers rather than invest in our young people, or simply one that is sold by politicians to the British people on an entirely false premise, then you're not championing growth, you're not championing justice, or however else people defend the status quo. You're actually contributing to the forces that are slowly pulling our country apart. So yes, I believe in this. I believe we need to reduce immigration significantly.
Slowly pulling our country apart. How is that for strong rhetoric? Now, I think this change in sentiment has a lot to do with Nigel Farage's recent success in the local government elections, effectively backing Labor and the Conservatives into a corner, because running on a platform of cutting migration has been a success for Reform UK. In fact, if an election were to be held today, 28% would vote for Reform, 23% for Labor, the current government, and just 18% for the Conservatives. Reform is clearly cutting through. And the thing is, nobody doubts Nigel Farage when he says he wants to stop the boats and stop the influx of migrants who do not share British values. He doesn't shy away or back down from his policies because, funnily enough, it is not far right to actually care about your country. So now Keir Starmer has come out guns blazing on immigration. Better late than never, but actions speak louder than words. But he's actually said what leaders around the world, including the Conservatives here in Australia, are too scared to say.
We risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together.
An island of strangers, spot on. I mean, no Labor MP here would ever be as bold as to say we're becoming an island of strangers. I mean, can you imagine Anthony Albanese? He wouldn't dare. He wouldn't touch the topic, even though it is the truth here. Heightened even more so since October 7, 2023, the fractures in our society have been worse than ever. And don't get me started on those who've been welcomed here with open arms who do not respect our values. Because there are people who have come into this country, some who hate us, some who hate our values, and some who have no interest in assimilating. Migration is an issue here. Our population growth compared to the rest of the world is out of control. In fact, experts say Australia has the 9th largest migrant cohort of all countries, despite only being the 54th largest country in terms of population. Our capital cities grew by a combined 427,000 people in the 2024 financial year. That's a 2.4% increase. Melbourne added almost 143,000 to its population in just 12 months, followed by Sydney at around 107,000 people. And net overseas migration accounted for the overwhelming majority of growth. And we got another warning just this week. Melbourne is on track to be the same size as New York City. In fact, it is growing at such a rapid pace, more than 9 million people are expected to call the city home by 2050. 9 million people. Where are we going to put all these people? Where are they going to go? And Melbourne's population is already over 5.2 million, making it the most populated capital city in the country. And a record number of migrants have come into the country under Labor's Big Australia policy. And of course, it's always worked politically for Anthony Albanese because it props up his Ponzi scheme economy, even though it is putting so much pressure on the housing market and has jacked up inflation. And of course, it's easy for Albo to say, oh, well, we haven't had a recession, but everything's gone up. And inflation stayed higher for longer. Now, Peter Dutton put migration on the table during the election, but in my view, the policy wasn't prosecuted enough. The Coalition pledged to cut the annual permanent migration intake by 25% to about 140,000, but the policy was not front and centre throughout the whole campaign. And added to this, right on cue, he was suddenly labelled racist for even suggesting it.
Don't get sucked in by the racist trope from Peter Dutton and the Liberal Party.
You know what the Liberals want you to be afraid of this election? Immigration. It's not new. We've had Stop the Boats, we've had White Australia policy. This time we've got migrants at the cause of the housing crisis. We're going to call out this racist race to the bottom when we see it. Stop blaming migrants for a problem that they didn't cause.
Happens every time. It is not racist to have an open and frank discussion about the number of people we're bringing here because we need to prioritise Australians. I am not anti-migration and I can understand why people want to come to this beautiful country. I really can. But it has to be in reason. And that's why it's so significant that UK Labor has finally realised it's not a right-wing or racist issue to talk about. In fact, under Starmer's proposals, foreign workers will face stricter English language tests, dependents will be required to speak English, and there will be a decade-long wait for permanent residency. That's not right-wing. That's being fair enough and actually putting Britons first. And look, I don't care if he's only putting policies in place now because he's scared of reform. I say good on him. And let's just hope he follows through. But the rhetoric is tough, and that is what we need here. Because nobody ever voted for a big Australia. Yet here we are under Labor's reckless open border policy. We can't even get Australians into houses, and Labor has treated our borders with incredible contempt. Dancing around this issue will not fix it. And if Sussan Ley wants a head start, well, look no further than migration. Have the courage to go big and bold, or the Conservatives will be in the wilderness for a long time to come.